Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Szuszkiewicz, State Assembly candidate, and welcome to Final Takes. I'm here with a very special guest, Cara Castronuova, who is one of the trainers on the hit TV show, The Biggest Loser, as well as a two-time Golden Gloves champion and many other impressive things in her resume. Welcome to the program, Cara.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problem. Pleasure to have you on. And I met you originally at the Don't Give Up the Ship rally in Manhattan, and we're going to get into the footage of that interview. And when we come back, we're going to have more with Cara, as some health and fitness tips from the expert herself, as well as more about what's going on in Cara's life now. So stay tuned and get ready for Final Takes.
Number one. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Tremendous show, tremendous success.
Hello, everyone. State Assembly candidate Mark Szuszkiewicz here with Final Takes, and I have a very special guest, Cara Castronuova, who's a former trainer on The Biggest Loser, a fellow Golden Glover, except she's won it twice, and also leader of Liberate New York. And we're here at the Don't Give Up the Ship rally. It just ended. It was a tremendous event, huge turnout. What brought you to this event today?
I just think it's about time somebody organized something like this in New York City. I've been organizing rallies in Albany, and I just think it's huge that something like this is happening in New York City. I hope they do more of this every week because we need to.
Yeah, we definitely need to be in de Blasio's face regularly. We're out here in City Hall Park. And one of the things, you're a former Golden Glover as well, and it's the boxing and boxing gyms in general. Everyone, I mean, it's not just about getting bulk and getting fit. A lot of it is mental health.
It is, 100%. I've been saying that. It's about mental health, and I really feel like it's by design that gyms were the last thing to open. They're still making it really difficult for gyms to open with all these regulations and making people wear masks in the gym, which is not safe. I think that when people are physically healthy, they're mentally healthy. So you can't think straight when you're not mentally healthy, right? So it's like, how could you realize what's going on right in front of your face, which is that there's something very wrong with what's going on right now in New York City. De Blasio, Cuomo, the far left, I'm sorry, I'm going to put it like that, but they're totally putting a fast one over us. And I think that a lot of people are not mentally healthy right now because they're not working out, because they're cooped up in their house. They're not getting fresh air, they're not getting exercise, so their mind isn't that clear.
Cooped up in the house, and we see more people have died from suicides and overdoses than the virus itself. And I don't know whether the gyms have a factor in it, but I would imagine so. If you go from an active lifestyle to being cooped up at home and not being able to relieve that stress that you normally do, a lot of people turn to alcohol to calm their nerves instead of the healthy alternative, which would be going to the gym.
It's crazy how they had liquor stores were open and the gyms just are starting to open now. They're really being treated how the gyms are opening. It makes no sense how alcohol was essential and how working out and staying fit was not.
Yeah, it's definitely not just about lifting up and putting things down and gain.
I lift things up and put them down.
There's a lot more to it. And what recommendations would you have for opening up safely? Because normally gyms, they have all the disinfectant stuff under normal circumstances, but people are breathing, people are spitting and sweating and all that.
In my honest personal opinion, I think gyms would be fine if they opened up just the way they were. I think it's fine, with maybe a little bit more sanitizer would be fine. But I think that they're really just making it difficult right now for reasons. I think how, a friend of mine works at the gym now. You're only allowed to work at every free machine, 33% capacity. You have to wear a mask while working out, which is so unhealthy because you're breathing in your own carbon.
CO2,
right. It's not safe. Even the World Health Organization has said that it's not safe to breathe in carbon CO2 from the mask. So you could pass out.
A lot of different health risks with wearing the mask, and they're also these masks aren't proven to actually prevent you from getting the virus either.
I think that they're just, the gyms have to follow the regulations because they want to open up, but I think that the regulations are ridiculous. And I think that keep people sick. So it's sick.
And the people that are in shape, I mean, you see the average age of death is 80 years old. It's generally not going to be the people who are taking care of themselves health-wise in the gym that are going to die from the disease.
And you know, with the boxing gym, since I'm a boxer and I'm also a boxing trainer, these boxing centers, these community gyms, like you know, they're where a lot of kids hang out. Like it keeps them up the streets, it keeps them active. And like this whole time, these past months, they've had nowhere to go, nowhere to work out. I think it's pretty cool that they've closed all these community centers and these community gyms that are open to, you know, the community youth. That's been upsetting for me to see. And also, professional boxers don't have a place to work out. There's kind of discrimination. You know, the baseball, football players, they're allowing the professionals to train now, but with boxing, there's no sparring. They have to go to a professional boxing match. They're letting them fight, but they're not letting them go to boxing gyms and train and spar, which is ludicrous to me. So it makes all of no sense what they're doing right now. It's been frustrating me for a long time. I've been organizing rallies since March. So, you know, I've been working out outside, but not everybody else is going to do that. Not everybody else is the type of person I am, which is going to put on sneakers around the floor.
Yeah. Talking about keeping kids off the streets, I said it before in a previous interview that boxing, you know, there's all the negative head injuries and things of that nature, but at the same time, they're not doing the drugs, they're not doing alcohol, and, you know, I haven't had a drink in years. I choose to hit the bag instead of the bottle, I like to say. And now, you know, a lot of people can't do that, and who knows what they've been going through mentally these past few months. They're used to going several rounds a day at the gym, you know, getting rid of all that energy, and now what are they doing? Like, yeah, you could go maybe for a walk or a run, but it's not what they're used to.
It's not the same at all. You know, a lot of people just aren't built that way. I have a boxing bag in my garage, and I'll actually go in there in the morning and hit it. But most people need a gym to push them, and that's all. And they need a trainer. And these community volunteers that train the kids in the boxing gyms, they need them to push them and to be a mentor. And they've been completely stripped of that. It just makes no sense. And this is the inner cities. These are the people that need it most, you know?
And my friends that own the gym, they're having difficulty staying open. So who knows how long this is going to take, when this is over, if those gyms are going to be able to reopen again for the community.
It's going to be hard for them to reopen because a lot of people now have a really bad stigma against gyms. They're not going to feel like it's safe to work out because of the propaganda that's told them. So it's unfortunate, you know, that the health industry is definitely going to be, in my opinion, one of the hardest hit industries moving forward. So gyms are opening now slowly, but I guarantee that come September, October, all of a sudden they're going to say there's a spike in COVID cases, and the first thing they're going to close is gyms. And I said it's by design because going to the gym helps you be able to think clearly and have mental clarity. And if people aren't going to the gym, they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be going crazy, especially in the fall when it's cold out and they can't even really work out in the park. People are not going to be thinking clearly, and that's exactly what we want.
Mental health is a problem, and I know I mentioned before hitting the bag instead of the bottle. When this first started, the essential services were grocery stores and restaurants for takeout only, but also liquor stores, which I felt was kind of weird. What would be your take on liquor stores and being essential?
I don't think liquor stores are essential, but maybe some people do. I'm not judging. I just don't think that they should be more essential before gyms and churches. That just kind of goes to show what kind of society and what kind of values that they want us to have. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think if you could open liquor stores, you could open a bookstore or a video game store, pretty much anything.
Of course. I mean, I don't understand how liquor stores are essential, and churches and bookstores, libraries, school.
Not in Pennsylvania or other states, but for some reason, New York, liquor stores were essential. But let's get back to you personally. How did you get involved? What motivated you to get into boxing?
What motivated me to get into boxing was I'm just the type of person who's a fighter at heart, I guess. My dad was a boxer. He taught me when I was young. So he passed away when I was 14, and I started boxing actually after he passed away, competitively, doing the Golden Gloves and really fighting on a national level. And just, I just love competing, and I love doing things that people tell me is impossible, you know?
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Just like these rallies, I've been organizing rallies. I organized one of the first rallies before it was cool back in March, where people were calling me a killer. I was getting like people on Facebook saying, you're evil. Friends of mine too. You're a horrible person, you're killing people, bringing crowds together. Nobody got sick. We were in Albany, we had these great rallies where people were coming together. Started off at 10 people there, grew to thousands of people. So we were doing them every weekend in Albany. And I mean, people were just telling me I was crazy, but I just felt very strongly about it. And really quick story, what happened with me was I went running in my neighborhood one day. They closed all the gyms, they closed the boxing gym. I had nowhere to go, and I was running to the local track where I've been running my whole life. And I get there and there's a big padlock one day on the gate, and I was like, oh my God. I started like having a panic attack. I just saw this big padlock in front of me. All I wanted to do was jog and like burn off some anxiety because I wasn't working, I was on unemployment. And I just couldn't believe my eyes. I remember I took a picture of it and I went home and I was like starting to sweat. I felt like something that is my God-given right was being stripped from me, which is to take a job and to work on my immune system and my health. And I just was like, oh my God, I have to find like-minded people. I started doing research on Facebook, online. I found like one person here, one person there. At that time, people were scared to really speak out against what's going on right now, this whole pandemic scare, and they were afraid to say that maybe it's being exaggerated. People were afraid. There was a couple people I found out there that I would actually reach out to. I never reach out to people like that. Like regular people, I'm like, let's go to Albany, stand outside Governor Cuomo's mansion or outside of the Capitol building, have these rallies and just scream at him through a megaphone and act crazy and just like hopefully something comes of it. And something did come of it because they grew. And eventually I actually got a retweet from President Donald Trump, which I was in shock on a Sunday morning to get a retweet from him congratulating us on the rallies that we were doing all.
We had to change the scenery a little bit here. They're wrapping up the set here at the Don't Give Up the Ship rally. Now, you mentioned before about immunity. You don't hear any of the leaders out there talking about eating healthy or you know, doing things like taking walks to build up your immune system. And all you hear is, oh, there's no evidence that vitamin C does anything. There's nothing bad about eating healthy, taking vitamins, and making your immune system stronger. So it's not a cure for the virus, but it's not a bad thing. Exactly.
And I do believe it helps, without a doubt. I never got COVID-19. I don't get colds. I don't get sick ever since I started working out and eating healthy. You know, I'm not saying I'm invincible, but I know it has something to do with it. Now, if I was eating McDonald's every day and sitting in my house not getting sunlight, I think I would have...
You might have had the virus and not known it, like a lot of people have.
But guaranteed, if I was not eating healthy and if I was not exercising, I would have had a much higher risk of contracting a virus or cold or flu or COVID-19. You know, I believe in herd immunity. People get canceled out. There's cancel culture. People are afraid to say things like vitamin C works or eating healthy can protect you or exercise could possibly prevent you from getting the virus. People are afraid to say that because they will get taken down off of YouTube. They will be censored right off of Facebook. It's happening time and time again. It's really scary. I never thought I would live in a world where people were telling me that encouraging people to eat healthy, to take care of their health, to take vitamins is a bad thing. I just can't believe it.
Yeah, everything they say is there's no evidence this, there's no evidence that. That's what you hear criminals say most of the time. You don't have any evidence, you can't prove it, but there's no evidence that it doesn't work either. And like you said, you know, there's nothing bad about eating healthy, there's nothing bad about, you know, taking vitamins, and it's ridiculous that more leaders aren't saying, you know, you could say that, hey, this isn't a cure for the virus, but it's not a bad idea to consider more healthier options than fast food.
Right, than fast food and liquor, which is what they wanted us to do. You know what, I'm just going to rewind on something I said. At the very beginning, because I am a human being, I was a little bit like paranoid when they first came out with the whole COVID thing. They were terrifying everybody. Yeah. You know, you see people walking around in airports in hazmat suits. So I'm a rational person. At first I said, okay, let me take precaution. You know, let me wear a mask, which I did for a little while. Let me stay 6 feet away from people. Let me maybe not go out as much. But as I did my research, my due diligent research that everybody should do, and put the puzzle pieces together, it didn't take me very long to realize that something else is going on here than just a pandemic, that there's a bigger agenda. And I put that together, I'd say about in March, later March. March when I started doing the whole Liberty Walk and the rallies. But at first, I did, I was one of the people who were like, okay, maybe I should be afraid. Maybe I don't want to die of the plague, But then I really, really went about doing some really, really deep research and talking to people, talking to professionals that don't have agendas.
And it's amazing how the mainstream changed their story, because when this first came out, it's, oh, you have more of a chance of getting the flu. And then,
completely changed the turnaround.
Shutting down China is xenophobic.
Right.
And then, he didn't do it soon enough. And, he wasn't taking it seriously. But you guys weren't taking it seriously either, like when they were referring to Trump. And
it's not, I guess it's something everybody, we learn as we go along, but I don't think it's rocket science for the general population in New York City, who I think is an intelligent population, to finally realize that there's something else going on here and that they're being played, totally being played. How could they not put those puzzle pieces together? It's just mind-boggling. And it's the power of the propaganda of the media.
Yeah.
They're so powerful.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't do their own research, and they take organizations like CNN because they call themselves news, but they have their own liberal agenda, and they're not necessarily giving you all of the facts.
That's why it's good that you're doing this on public access. That's the best type of news. You know what I mean?
The grassroots media.
There's no real agenda. Every one of these news organizations have agendas. It's really sad when people don't see that.
And they constantly want to shut down things like public access and things of that nature. And if it goes on YouTube and I mention hydroxychloroquine,
yeah, you said vitamin C. That's like a flag right there. They're going to take that.
I didn't talk about hydroxychloroquine, because if I did that, then if I put it on Instagram and all that stuff, we wouldn't be able to use it. But
it's censorship, and it's scary. Who would have ever thought in the greatest city of the world, the greatest country, this would happen?
It's one thing if you're censoring. If I went on video and I start sounding like Alex Jones and talking about, I'm not knocking Alex Jones, but if I came on like, hydroxychloroquine is the way to go, and blah, 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 and they wanted to censor that, that's one thing. But when you have actual doctors who have actual patients saying that this has been working, and you're censoring it,
it's scary. It's really scary. I don't know what the agenda is, but I'm going to continue to do research and continue to ask questions and not just believe what I hear on the mainstream media and what politicians tell me, because they're mostly dishonest, almost the most dishonest person. De Blasio is horrible. He ruined my favorite city, which is New York City. I dreamed of living here since I was a little kid from Long Island. I've always dreamed of living in the city, and now I'm just terrified. I would never want to live here. Unless de Blasio is out and you got somebody else in.
Fortunately, we have another year and a half before he's actually gone. But
hopefully, I don't know if you can impeach a mayor, but too bad.
Well, we would need Cuomo to do that, and Cuomo isn't exactly on,
right.
Mr.
Yeah, they say they don't like each other, but they're on the same page,
Yeah. They're not going to go against the party. They want, de Blasio to do exactly what he's doing, unfortunately. But tell us about the Biggest Loser. You mentioned that earlier on. One of the things that you accomplished. Tremendous show, tremendous success. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was a trainer on The Biggest Loser. It was an amazing experience. I got to work with very heavy obese people and help them lose thousands of pounds combined. So I use boxing as a technique, really, because it's such a great workout. It's really easy on your joints. A lot of them can do it sitting down, actually. You say boxing is to turn your feet off, but actually, when you're turning your torso, I got a lot of the guys that have really bad knees to lose a lot of weight while sitting down, actually. So it was a really good experience. It taught me a lot about health. It taught me a lot about what the human body and mind are capable of. When it doesn't want to give up, these people didn't want to give up. So that was inspiring. I learned just as much from them as they probably learned from me.
And going into that kind of segued into your organization with obesity?
It did. It segued into Not Get Obesity, which is an organization where I work with children and help them lose weight through teaching them the virtues of boxing, like fortitude, courage, stuff like that, teaching them to have a fighter's mentality, and that will just losing weight takes care of itself when you have a fighter's mentality.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with the kids, and it's been really rewarding. I'm doing a new nonprofit now, which I think is a pretty cool idea. I don't even want to talk about it, but like, I don't want to jinx it, but it's a way to bring like the cops and the community back together by having the cops act as boxing trainers in the gyms like they used to back in the day. They still have cops and kids in the city, but I want to bring that to Long Island.
Yeah.
You know, to kind
We
of
see that with
bridge the
basketball and
gap.
things like that.
Right, to bridge that gap again with the communities and the cops, and it's like it's a win-win situation. So that's like my new thing that I'm thinking about doing. I'm writing the mission statement right now. I've already had a successful nonprofit, so I kind of want to move on to this one now to really encompass kids that aren't only kids that are obese, but all kids that want to stay fit, more for mental health.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's great that you're doing that. It's great that you organize as an activist and doing things for the community as a kid. So I definitely appreciate you. Cara, thank you for joining me here on Final Takes, and make sure you check us next time. Let me do that over again. All right, so great episode here with Cara, activist, athlete, you name it. I usually just go, I usually don't have to do a take two. When I have to do a take two, I'm just all fucked up.
This is all right. We're going to do it again. Let's keep going.
Well, Cara, I appreciate what you do with the community, both for the kids and both politically as an activist. I appreciate you joining me here on Final Takes. And for you folks at home, make sure you check us out next time and check out finaltakes.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. I just want to give a quick shout out to Mark Jeremiah, who was behind the camera for...
I want you to remember this face here, okay? This is the guy behind the guy behind the guy.
today's events at Don't Give Up the Ship. Make sure you're following him at Focus Frames.
Tremendous show, tremendous success.
All right, we are back on Final Takes. I'm here alongside Cara Castronuova. Now, in that interview, we discussed how a lot of the leaders out there aren't telling people about doing healthy things to boost their immune system. Obviously, that's not a cure for COVID, but it doesn't hurt. What are some suggestions you would have for home workouts or healthy eating, and also affordable healthy eating for some of the people who are stuck sitting at home and are afraid to leave the home?
So I think it's always less expensive actually to eat healthy than it is to eat unhealthy. And for me, I just try to eat really clean, and I try to meal prep a few days in advance so everything is there just to eat. And I try to eat things that just have one ingredient in it. So that's why I say it's cheaper if you're just having, banana or just oatmeal or just different types of fruit or vegetables without any spices. So I try to eat as clean as possible. And it's really helpful because I feel like there's a lot of additives in our food, and I notice that when I eat more clean, my mind is more clear and I'm able to think more clearly, which I think is important right now because there's so much going on in the world. I think that we all have to be really aware of what's going on so that we could kind of try to make sense of it. And if you're just stuffing yourself with junk, you're not going to be able to think clearly. So it's important. It's
kind of like this old saying, you are what you eat. If you're eating garbage, you're going to feel like garbage, basically.
And I notice that so much because I'm athletic and I do a lot of different athletic things. So when I eat something that's not good for me, I feel it when I work out, and it's very, very obvious. Like if I could just take a side-by-side comparison of a day that I eat something unhealthy for breakfast and a day that I eat something really clean and natural for breakfast, my energy levels when working out specifically are so different, and my mind clarity, and I don't get as many headaches. So a lot of people, I don't think, realize that what they're eating could be giving them a lot of their aches and pains.
Yeah, definitely. Healthy eating is more important than the exercise. I mean, people talk about the gym membership and everything, and obviously that's great, but the hardest part is being consistent with a diet. They talk about, salads are more expensive than the value meal at McDonald's or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, when you're snacking, a banana is just as expensive as, the 50-cent bag of chips or whatever the case may be. So there are healthy options that are inexpensive, like you said, and, the single ingredient as opposed to, something that you're buying in the supermarket, where you look at the back and there's ingredients of things that you can't even pronounce in there or have no idea what it is. So that's a very good point there.
Generally, if there's more than 5 ingredients, I just don't buy it. I try to buy things that only have 1 or 2 ingredients, but more than 4 or 5 ingredients, just you don't know.
Yeah. Keep it simple and keep it natural. Obviously, those chemicals that are in the food are obviously, not doing your body any good or your mental health any good. So it's a lot easier said than done. I mean, I'm not a, I don't exactly have the physique like you do to go out there. People see me talk about health and everything, and they're like, yeah, well, it doesn't exactly look like you know what you're doing, but it's, you can have the knowledge, that, that going to a fast food restaurant isn't healthy for you. It's more a matter of doing it than just the knowledge. Knowledge is one thing, but you have to actually do it as well and be consistent with it, because I've been on these, diets where everything is perfect for months, and I'm lost like, 30 pounds in a month, 50 pounds in 3 months. And then next thing you know, I go and have, somebody's birthday, and you have cake and pizza or whatever. And then next thing the next day the cravings are back again. And, I'll go back on the diet tomorrow, and then tomorrow, the next thing those pounds start coming back on. What advice would you have for somebody? I mean, even with The Biggest Loser, you've had people on the show, they drop tremendous amounts of weight. Some of them keep it off, some of them don't. What advice would you have, for someone like me with the yo-yo nickname, up and down?
It just has to be a way of life. I think it's the way that you look at it. Like, you want to look at exercising as a way of life rather than something that you have to do in a program that you're on. For me, when I start thinking about it like a diet, or I start thinking about it like an exercise program, I don't want to do it. And when I start thinking about it more as a way of life and something I do a few times a week to clear my mind and to get healthy, like I work out for my mental, I work out because it helps me mentally. It helps me think better. It helps me have less anxiety, have less depression or whatever. Like, when I'm lonely, I feel better when I exercise. And as a actual side effect, my body looks better and I'm more healthy. So I do it. My outlook is do it for your own mental health. And when you switch it to that and you put the focus on that, you're going to enjoy it more, and you're more apt to do it than if you're just thinking about something superficial like having a hot body. So I think about it like, okay, this is going to relieve anxiety. This is going to help me think more clearly. This is going to help strengthen me mentally. And, just like with boxing, it's like a mental test to be able to every day work out and stay on a schedule. So look at it like a mental test rather than something like a physical test. That's just part of it.
Yeah, for me, it's, the working out part is already every day, whether it's walking or when I had access to the boxing gym, that was a regular thing with the boxing bag. Or even now I do, a few hundred push-ups a day spread out throughout the course of the day, as well as walking several miles. But it's when I work out more, the more I work out, the more I want to eat. And, and when I do eat after I work out, I'm like, oh, well, I just did this. And I can, it's almost like I'm giving myself an excuse to pig out now. So, but me personally, I got to get back to being more consistent. But what workout, because I work out at home, I do burpees or push-ups, but what other not so common exercises do you think people can do at home?
I think that any type of movement is good for me. I have like a little sanctuary I built in my backyard. I just built a gazebo. You can get one of those pop-up tents because it was really hot this summer. And I just go into there and I do cardio. I dance. I put music on. Something I really find also useful is get like a boxing bag, and also get a ground and pound bag so that you could stand up, punch, then jump on the floor and punch the bag. So it's like you're getting up and down is so much work. People don't realize, like, getting on the floor and doing grounds and pounds with a heavy bag, or doing some sort of, I do break dancing. That's not a common thing that people are going to learn, though. So I'm not saying that everybody should try that, but just dancing, I think, like, with no one watching is a lot of fun. And, take 10 of your favorite songs and just move around for 10 songs. And then before you know it, it'll be over. I've been doing that a lot lately because I've been having some knee issues, and I feel like it's way more easy on my body. So I just pick 10 songs out, and I'll just like pick a few moves, and I'll do that for 10 songs, and I'll take breaks in between songs to do stuff like push-ups or squats and just mix that in there. So I think just doing something really fun and enjoyable like that, and letting yourself go, especially at a time like this, is really important, and it's really inexpensive. And I enjoy that more than going to the gym. being outside by myself, like playing my music in my yard, dancing around the yard, you know, having the privacy, or even if people are around, I don't care. But I know some people are shy. But I think trying some new dance moves is a really good idea right now, because people just have to lighten up right now. Everybody's so serious. And so,
Do you watch any videos or anything when you work out? Have you tried any of those workout videos that are out there? Are there any that you recommend?
I personally don't like, I like to move to my own rhythm. I never was a person who really loved workout classes. I don't like treadmills. I like to just like feel my own body and do what I feel like doing. I will watch dance videos and workout videos to learn the moves, but then I'll do my own thing. You know, I'll pick out, oh, there's like 5 dance moves I want to learn. I'll do them before I work out to learn them. And then I'll just, you know, when I'm actually.
So now what type of music gets you ready for workout mode?
Lately, I've been listening to, you know, I'm just kind of living in the past, I guess. I put my like spinning light out in my yard, and I've been listening to like electronic music from the early 2000s. You know, that stuff that was playing.
That actually makes 2 of us. I mean, I use that sometimes for my walks and stuff, not really for push-ups or anything. I have like a Get Amped playlist with a combination of heavy metal and rap, and you know, well, not heavy metal, but you know, different Get Amped when I'm boxing and stuff. But when I'm just walking, it's usually the EDM music from, you know, both current and past EDM music. So we have that in common. But
brings back good memories. Anything that could trigger good memories, like being 20 years old and like being alive and feeling like you have the whole world ahead of you, and you're at the nightclub, and then like it just makes you feel happy. But a lot of people, that if they didn't come from that era, I say play music from like your era when you were like young, and it makes you feel good. You know, I used to be really into old school hip hop, then I kind of got tired of it. I needed a faster beat, and I've been listening to breakdancing music too, because I've been doing some breakdancing, which is actually really hard. So yeah, and then that's what my advice is with working out. And try to make it shorter. I'm starting to realize that, you know, when I was younger, I thought longer was better. And now I'm starting to realize I'm going to do it more if I don't put that much pressure on myself. I say to myself, I'm going to do half an hour, 3 or 4 times a week. That's more than enough, I think. And I usually wind up going over the half hour, because once you're warmed up, then I'll go to 40, 45 minutes. And like, that's all I do. I used to really put a lot of stress and pressure on myself to work out like an animal. And now I don't do that anymore. And I actually am in probably the best shape I've ever been in my life, minus when I was boxing. And I'm not even trying. People keep saying to me, oh my God, you're so skinny. You lost so much weight. And it's like, I'm not saying that. I don't even know if they mean that as a compliment or as an insult, but I eat a lot. I don't eat.
It might be out of jealousy too, but
I don't know. I feel like it's because I've been just working out consistently, but just as long as it's consistent, I think that, and you don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like, it's really not that hard to mentally think, oh, okay, I'm going to work out for half an hour for 3 days in the week, every other day. That's not a lot of pressure. So you're going to do it, you know, more than, oh, I'm going to do an hour and a half or an hour of cardio 5 days a week. And then one day you miss and you're like, forget it. I messed up. I'm just going to not, I'm going to quit. I think that when you put less pressure on yourself, then it's better.
Yeah. Like you could, whatever the goal is, once you start, you know, I know with me, if I say I want to do 50 push-ups, then when I'm at 50, or let me try to do 10 more or whatever. So I guess it's easier to have a lower goal and exceed it than it is to, you know, set something higher than like you were saying.
Really is enough, especially if you're in halfway decent shape. And even if you're not, I mean, it's more than you would be doing if you weren't doing anything. And just go at a really, you know, I try to go at a faster pace for the half an hour rather than like warm up slowly. Like, I'll just try to get into it, you know. But I think that's more than enough for the average person, half an hour, 3 or 4 times a week, and then go over the half an hour a little bit, because you probably will anyway, you know, once you get up and you're all like happy to be. Like, the hardest part is the first 10 minutes, just getting into it.
Well, we appreciate your input there and your advice on different health tips. What else is going on with you? I mean, as far as a lot of accomplishments in the past, ring announcer, not much with COVID and lockdowns and everything. How have you been keeping busy, and what plans do you have for the near future?
Yeah, it's hard because there's not much going on. A lot of the stuff that I was really starting to get involved with, and that was becoming kind of lifestyle for me. Like, I was doing some ring announcing, which I never thought I would like before, because I always thought the ring announcers were reading from cards, so their job was easy. And that was a really silly judgment because it's actually really hard. You're basically kind of like controlling the whole show. And God forbid, like I'm always like, oh my God, what if I announce the wrong fighter? Thank God that never happened to me, but you really have to be mentally sharp to be a ring announcer. And I was always very judgmental, like, oh my God, they have the easiest job. All they need is a deep voice. But actually it's really hard. So I was proud of myself. Like every time I did a ring announcing show, I'm so proud of myself. And not only for being able to enunciate and to get my voice over the crowd, but also for being able to keep the show together. Because you're actually the master of ceremony, basically. You're running the whole show. So
Yeah.
really mentally there. And now there's no audiences in boxing, and a lot of the promoters that I was working with actually aren't really doing many shows. So that kind of is a bummer. I'm hoping that things will go back to normal and sports will resume where there's actually able to be fans. Boxing already had a hard time getting, boxing, especially the smaller promotions, have always had a hard time getting people there, and it was just starting to get good again. And now all of a sudden this happens. I think hopefully it doesn't, but potentially put a lot of smaller promoters out of business, which is where I was getting my feet wet. I got to do a Showtime show, an undercard, which was pretty cool because I was doing the smaller shows to get prepared. So that was important, that I was prepared by doing these smaller shows. And now sadly, a lot of these shows don't even exist right now. And I was also refereeing and judging. And I think it's very sad. The amateurs in New York, which I know you won the Golden Gloves, they cut the tournament right in the middle and stopped it last year. And the fighters haven't really been fighting. Boxing gyms are open now, but there's no sparring allowed. So sad, but there's no boxing matches really to judge and to referee out right now. So that's another like kind of hobby of mine that I was going to pursue because I really wanted to become better at refereeing. It's actually very scary being a ref. I think it's actually more scary than fighting. For me, it is because somebody else's life is now on the line and in my hands. When I was fighting, it was like I could take responsibility. If I got hurt, it was my own fault. But when you're refereeing, it's totally another story. I thought it would be so much fun because you have the best seat in the house, I would think. You're right up watching the fighters. But in actuality, their lives are in your hands, and it's a lot of pressure because
especially with refereeing, you're obviously there for their protection. Sometimes the fighters don't exactly appreciate the fight being stopped if you make the wrong call, but at the same time, it's always, the saying better safe than sorry as well. So.
Yeah, last fight that I did, it was a girls' fight, a female fight, and I stopped it because I just really felt like it was the right thing to do. People in the audience were booing like crazy. I got so much slack for it, and people you don't see in the audience what the referee sees. I see that now because I was one of those people in the past yelling at the referee. I'm like, I'm never going to yell at a referee again because as a referee, you're right up close. You can see the person's eyes. You can see the little nuances that show that they're maybe not all there anymore. So I stopped that fight, and everybody was mad. They were really mad. I was like, the ref that everybody hated that night. So, but it's just part of the territory, It's like the fighter's safety is the most important thing. And when you're refereeing baseball or soccer or football, it's like you're just trying to make sure no one's cheating, really. When you're refereeing boxing, you're just trying to make sure nobody dies. Like, literally, that's what it is. You literally got to make sure that person doesn't get knocked out cold and possibly die. And it's a lot of pressure. Nobody realizes how much pressure that is, So.
I mean, I was upset with my fight that got stopped. There was 2 seconds left in the round, and you could see because it was on video. I'm like this. I'm like this when it stopped. Like I'm shaking, moving my hands up. Like I had no idea why he stopped it, but I mean, either way, it is what it is. I mean, I probably would have lost the fight regardless. So, I guess it doesn't make that big of a deal.
We always try to I try to like if I see there's only a few seconds left. There was a time I think I stopped a fight, there was 10 seconds left. Sometimes it's just like you're watching this person get brutalized, and and you feel like only one more punch, and it could like really, it takes one punch to change someone's life. Because actually last year there was a kid who went into a coma in the amateurs, and I was there at the fight. I was the judge, I wasn't the ref, and another kid died. So I don't know if it's one punch or a punch flurry, but we have to be really careful.
Yeah, definitely. So very, very interesting life you've had, Cara. Like I said, Biggest Loser, a boxer yourself, 2-time Golden Gloves champion, as you mentioned before in the previous interview. First you got the silver, and then you said silver's not good enough, and then got the gold, and then got it again just for.
To tell you the truth, I wasn't planning on fighting again. I did it because my first pair of Golden Gloves got stolen off my neck in the subway. I was chain snatched on the subway in Brooklyn at Atlantic Terminal. The train door opened, and all of a sudden I saw a hand come in, rip my chain off right before it closed.
Wow.
Horrible day in my life. What a horrible person to do that. This person was. And then maybe looking at it later on, because the Golden Gloves are inscribed, it said 119 champion female. You would think this person would be like, oh my God, this is really sentimental. Like, let me get this back. Let me just Google who that was that year and somehow get it back to them. But people don't think the way I think. You know, that this wasn't just a regular chain I bought. It was something I won.
Yeah.
Never got it back. I called a few pawn shops to see if anyone tried to pawn it, but so I'm like, let me fight. Now I have to fight again because I wanted to get. You could always get a replacement pair and pay for it, but it's just not the same as the one that they hand to you.
Yeah, that's sad, but it's impressive at the same time that after it gets stolen, it's like, I'll just win another one.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Everyone was like, thought I was, because I was planning on, moving that year, and I am like, I wound up staying, but no one thought I was going to fight again, so I did. Yeah, and it was good that I did because I learned a lot from that year with people that I fought.
Well, it was great speaking to you. A lot of interesting stuff. Thanks again for the pointers and a lot of the good stuff that you said on the first interview. And we appreciate you coming back to fill up a full episode of Final Takes here with you. And I hope things get back to normal for everybody. And I wish you a long list of even more accomplishments ahead.
Thank you. And good luck with your election.
Yes, thank you very much. markforny.com, since you mentioned it out there. But thank you again for joining us, Cara, and thank you all at home for watching, and we'll see you next time on Final Takes.
Tremendous show.